just for now. And so from this point on, this will get shared with everyone else who signed up but wasn't able to join us at this time today. So we'll start with a little bit of an overview, and then we have some questions we can answer, and then there's basically 3 different sections, and after that we'll set up kind of some future communications with each of you in different areas that you want to focus on, and probably as like groups. So Mitra, do you want me to do the sharing screen and all that?
Sure, please go ahead and do that. While Ali does that, I just wanted to give you all some brief information about Sahar and what we do currently, what we used to do. So Sahar initially started in 2001 when our founder was in Afghanistan working on a project, and she saw the need to build a school for girls in Afghanistan. But Sahar was officially registered in 2009. We are based in Seattle, Washington, but we all work remotely, so we're all over the country, including our board members. We are a very small team. That's why we rely on support from volunteers like yourself. And thank you for offering your help. So before the Taliban takeover, Sahar Education used to build school buildings for girls in Mazar Sharif. We have built and repaired over 28 schools in Afghanistan, and we have also created computer centers in some of the high schools that we built, but also other schools that we did not get to build. They were already there. Sahar looks at girls' education from a holistic viewpoint. We realized that giving them school buildings is not going to solve the problem because there were a lot of girls dropping out of school to get married. So we started our prevention of early marriages program, and the goal for that was to keep girls in school at least until they graduate high school. And we also started working with their fathers, because no matter how much we empower girls, and in traditions like Afghanistan and I would say around the world, if the men in the family do not support their girls, there's no way they can get an education. So we worked with high school boys and also fathers of our students from our prevention of early marriages program to build allies for women and girls to be able to get an education. We also started our teacher training program for female teachers in Mazar Sharif. We had our digital literacy classes where girls used to learn coding. Unfortunately, after the Taliban regained the power in August of 2021, we couldn't continue building schools. We were actually working on a beautiful boarding school for girls in Mazar Sharif, but unfortunately, we had to put that on pause. We had to take a step back, rethink, and do some more brainstorming, do a needs assessment to see what we can do on the ground right now. So we were able to resume some of our previous programs, but also design some new ones. We were actually able to resume our digital literacy program. Ali will get into that in a bit and give you more information about what we do. But we were able to resume the coding program. Unfortunately, we can't do them in high schools anymore because there are no high schools for girls. So we had to do underground schools for girls. And we also incorporated women empowerment and women's health workshops. I know Madia has been helping us with developing our women's health workshop. We have embedded that in all of our programs. We also started a new program, which was called Stealth Sisters. Unfortunately, we had to shut that down last year because the Taliban found out about it. And to make sure that our teams and students are safe, it was a mutual decision to stop that program for now, at least. We also started our Threads of Hope program, where girls learn sewing and literacy skills. And we were able to resume our Men as Partners in Change program as well, which we are working on right now. I know Ali is going to get into the details of each program in a minute, but we also have an online English program right now that we are working on.
Thank you. So yes, so for all of you who have joined here today, the concept that Sahar is currently trying to spread around is the idea that one small act can have an everlasting impact. And that is because each girl that is in one of our programs is not just learning for herself. In the Women's Empowerment Program, they learn the value of their education and the value of educating others and of helping others in their community, which means that each girl in a Sahar program is eventually able to impact the lives of other girls and women in their communities. They do this in different ways. We have heard from many of our graduates that they have started schools, that they've tutored other girls, that they have gone on to work and support their families, different things and different skills that they learn, and they apply them because they're not just learning a skill, they're also learning about the value of themselves and the value of education in a society that isn't talking about that publicly. So we really appreciate all of your commitment to helping us with that. If it would push the button. Okay. So the first program I'm going to talk about here is Underground Text Heroes. I just have to make this much smaller so I can see my whole screen. There we go. So the demographics of this program is that it's girls and women in Mazar Sharif, Afghanistan, over 16 but under 28 years old, with varying levels of computer skills. And the students are from different economic situations. So some of these students are wealthier and some of them are not. They're also from different ethnic communities within that area as well. The class format for these is they are in-person lessons where about 20 students gather in one location at a time. We have 3 separate locations. Each of these are actually the homes of teachers. So they're not school buildings. They are done secretly in the homes of people who we're working with. And they meet over multiple times a week over a 12-month period. The last iteration of this program was a 6-month period, but we've recently reformatted this program in order to kind of change the way that we're doing this, because it used to be that you could either join with 0 computer skills and you'd be in basic IT, or you join already knowing some about computers and you could be in coding. But the new program idea is that you can join with 0 computer skills, you learn those, and then you can move on to coding. So that allows more of a learning bridge for these girls so that they can go and do more afterwards. The mission is to bridge the digital gap for women in Afghanistan. And that's just because many students, even if they did go to school, they don't learn how to actually use a computer, and anything that they often learn about a computer is from like a book. A lot of schools don't have computers. So previously, Mitra mentioned Stealth Sisters. We did Stealth Sisters with a private school in Mazar Sharif, and that private school had a computer lab. So it was great because they actually had physical computers. There was enough computers for all the students to use them, but most schools don't have that. And so to be able to put, to action the ideas of using a computer in real life and to practice them is very helpful if these girls ever want to go on to work in an office or, like a doctor's or dental office. Those are jobs that are actually open to women, but you need to be able to use a computer. And they can also then enroll in online education. They can take online computer courses. Some of the students who graduated this program previously had gone on to do courses with the University of California in coding. And so there's more opportunities open to you if you have those digital literacy skills. So in this course, they learn everything from basic IT skills all the way up to HTML, JavaScript, CSS. They still learn the women's empowerment and health workshops, which are part of this course. Health workshops with Sahar include a lot of different things. They include mental health, they include prenatal and postnatal care, menstruation health, a lot of things that are just not normally covered. Even if these girls were in school in Afghanistan, they would likely not learn many of the topics that are taught in these programs. So it's very informative and helpful for the girls in this program. The upcoming iteration, trying to remember how many students, I believe, Mitra, am I right? I think it's 200. Is that the goal?
120.
120. Oh, per round. Okay. 120 will be the new round. It's changed since the last one. So I was like, what's the number? So that many students will be enrolled in the upcoming program, which will allow us to reach even more students than previously. And so after that, there's Threads of Hope. Threads of Hope is in Kabul. The previous program served 80 women, but the upcoming program that we will be starting in September will serve 100 women. These women are between 18 and 45 years old. They've never been to school or never completed elementary school. They are functionally illiterate. They don't, read, write, or have any, ability to like read a book or fill out paperwork or anything like that. So they need oftentimes someone in their family to accompany them to help them, and they can't help their children, many of whom have children, in school either. So they really need those skills. And many of these women, I would say the majority from the data that I've seen, are from economically disadvantaged positions. The centers themselves for the upcoming program that will start in September are specifically located in more economically downtrodden areas of Kabul in order to make it easier for the women that live in those communities to get to the program and be able to partake in the class. The format is that roughly 20 students gather per session across 2 different learning centers. They meet multiple times a week over 9 months, and they receive a stipend every month so that they can continue to come to the class and it doesn't hurt them. They're not starving in order to come to this class. And they, at the end, actually get to take home the sewing machine that they practiced on this entire time, allowing them to then, use the skills that they have without having to invest in a machine of their own. And the mission for that is really to empower the Afghan women who are left behind during the original Taliban rule and to support them so that they can be independent in society in a financial way. Many of the women in this program have shared with us that they joined the program because they really needed a way to support themselves financially. Quite a few of them were widows, and so they have to rely on the charity of their family in order to support themselves and their children. Several of the women shared with us in the last program that we ran for it that they were living in domestic violence situations because they had no economic choice. They literally could not eat or support their children if they didn't stay with their ex-brother-in-law or sister-in-law or someone who is not, treating them fairly and who is violent with them. And so this program gives them the ability to start selling clothes and be able to say, okay, I can now get my own apartment. And several of the women share with us that they did do that, which is really inspiring that, they went through this program and they were able to change their lives for the better. So not only do they learn sewing and tailoring, which includes like measurements and all of that, they also learn to read and write, and they learn basic math and measurements. They also do the women's empowerment and the health workshops as well, the same as in other programs. The health workshops also, I have been shared with by the program managers there, are incredibly interesting to these women because many of them, even though they've had children, they don't know really the process or how that child is growing in them, and they don't know the best ways to take care of themselves. As an example, they feel that being pregnant is shameful, and that when you're pregnant, you shouldn't even go to the doctor, and that when you're having your period, you shouldn't bathe. So they have been holding on for all their lives to these old wives' tales, and they've never gone to a health education course. No one has ever, educated them on how they should really take care of themselves. And so for the first time, they're being able to learn those things in a safe environment with people who are willing to, answer their questions. So that's really valuable to them. And the next one is the reinstallment of men as partners in change. This program, as Mitra mentioned, was previously done with a lot of relatives of students that were in the early marriage prevention program with Sahar, and now it is being done with boys ages 13 to 17 in Mazar Sharif, Afghanistan. Students in this program are from different economic positions, and they're just recruited from local schools. So they don't have to be related to someone in another Sahar program or anything like that. I don't think that they are. To my knowledge, they're not doing that anymore. We're just literally
Sure.
recruiting them from schools. Yeah, I'm
Sure.
pretty sure. So the format for this is that roughly 20 students gather per session per learning center. These are in a learning center, not in someone's home, because learning is not illegal for boys in Afghanistan. So students, they get to meet multiple times a week across a 6-month period. In this program, we're trying to create allies for Afghan women in the next generation of Afghan men. So these are young men, they're learning, they're coming up, they're going through high school, and we really want to impart on them the idea that they have rights, but so do women, because it's important that the next generation of men in Afghanistan see that and believe that and understand it, to help us with the future, right? Because we would like to envision an Afghanistan where the Taliban does not continue to control the way that women are able to survive in their society. This is done by teaching them English, but they also learn mental, physical health, human rights, gender studies. They're learning things like how to be a good father, how to be a good husband, how to communicate safely without violence. They learn about domestic violence, what counts as domestic violence, and why it's not the way that you should go. They learn so many different things that are really valuable. And it's from seeing kind of like the, yes, Mitra, sorry. Oh, you're muted.
Sorry. I just wanted to add something quickly. Although learning is not prohibited for men in Afghanistan at the moment, but the topics that we cover in this class are definitely topics that the Taliban do not want men to be discussing. That's why we are actually promoting this program as English language and skills program, but then we incorporate the curriculum for our MPC workshop in it. So that part of it can be controversial and also tricky if we are advertising it as Men's Partner and Change program only. So that's just a strategy, including English classes is a strategy for us to be able to continue the program.
Yes, yes, thank you. And also to recruit the students, right? Because why would a student join a program in Afghanistan if we told them that was the goal? So definitely agree with that. And then the next one is our current pilot program. So we're testing out this program, but the initial like future plan would be for girls and women age 13 and up all across Afghanistan. Students would be able to join this from any province, from any area, regardless of their economic background or their ethnic background. The class format is that students will use an app to move independently through lessons on English, math, and life skills. They also get online sessions with volunteer teachers who will help create community and support their learning. They will also, once they've moved through the program from beginning English all the way through the end of TOEFL prep, we then would support their taking the TOEFL exam at the end. So students who have made it successfully through this program would have a TOEFL certificate, which they can use, of course, for different types of jobs, applications to schools, etc. And the mission of this is really to provide quality online programs for young women banned from formal schooling, and specifically online because many students reach out to us. We have an online form just like our volunteer one that allows people to sign up if they're interested in our programs. And we have a lot of people who ask about them who are not located in either Mazar Sharif or Kabul. And so because they're not located in either area that we work in, we really can't offer anything to them. But that made us realize that we should try and start a program that would allow us to reach students no matter where they are in Afghanistan. Also, it would allow us to reach students who are afraid to go out and try and seek learning in person. Because of course, if you have to walk to, your local, place where people are gathering for the school, it is an extra risk versus doing that at home. So we are working currently on testing this with over 90 students that enrolled and allowing them to go through the app. And that way we can see how well it works and kind of figure out any bugs or glitches before trying to enroll more young women in this course. But our initial estimate was that we could probably educate over 300 students for less than the cost of 120 students in underground tech heroes, which is a very cheap program comparative to many other programs that run in Afghanistan already. So we think we'll be able to go much further with that. So for those of you who have joined here today, of course, interested in ways that you can help, there are three main ways that people can help us. And so the first one is social media. Anyone can do this because you can help literally just by following Sahar on social media, sharing our stories and our information with your network, because every time that that happens, we get a few more followers, a few more people who are interested in what we're doing, who might volunteer or donate in the future. And that helps us to broaden our network. Also, if you're interested in content creation, you can do that too. So we've had volunteers in the past who've helped us with creating content. We do have some people currently who are interested in helping us create content around specific events as well. But we do need that, as well as blogs written, things like that, that can help us to, again, reach more people out there in the world. Because one of our biggest hurdles at Sahar is that people haven't heard of us. They just haven't heard of us. So, we're out here, we're trying to make a difference, but unless people hear about you, you're not going to get donations. And without funds, you can't continue programs. So that's a hugely important thing. But then there's also programs. So we have multiple programs that serve girls and women in Afghanistan, we've just talked about. And you can work directly with these programs if you have experience in curriculum design, healthcare, art therapy, teaching. If you have connections, if some of you have mentioned, to schools or accreditation centers or anything like that, those are definitely potential ways that you could work with us, because we're always looking to improve the programs that we have. We collect data on these programs. We try to figure out how they can be more effective for these students. How can we make it so that they really do make an impact in their lives? And so your contributions in those ways can be hugely helpful as well. And then there's events. So we do host in-person and virtual events throughout the year. You can help by spreading the word on social media and by volunteering during events. We often need help if you're in our area and you want to do a in-person event. We need help with registration, photography, setting up, pulling down, things like that. We have an event coming up in October in Seattle. We also are planning some events in the spring of next year, potentially in DC and California. So if you're like, I'm not in Seattle, but you're in DC or California, you could potentially help us with events next year, because we have been discussing that with several members of our board who are located in those areas. And Mitra herself is in the DC area as well. So there is definitely a potential to help with those events if you're willing and able. And then during virtual events, it's really helpful if we have a virtual event, if there's questions, if there's comments, if there's interaction. Not everyone who joins a virtual event, and sometimes no one, is able or willing to actually contribute during the event. They might be, shy that that we're filming it, we're going to put it on YouTube, etc. But it is really helpful to have that interaction. It helps the conversations to be more enriching. So coming to those virtual events, literally just coming and just throwing out questions when you think of them, is a way that you can actually be really helpful to us. So that's something to mention. So after this meeting today, we will welcome you all to think about which one of these things do you want your Sahar volunteer journey to encompass, and maybe more than one. Maybe you're like, I could do a lot of this and maybe a tiny bit of this. Great. If you want to then follow up with us via email, you can just literally respond to your email invite for today and just be like, I would like to do this. And then I will set up smaller calls to say okay, here are the people that want to do social media and here are the people that want to do programs, with the person you would actually work with to do that. Because if you want to do programs, meeting with me isn't going to help you in any way. So that's what we will do. And so just a note on things that are upcoming for Sahar that your help could be really, really instrumental in. We do have some upcoming fundraisers. Some of these are in person and some of these are not. So in September, there is something called the Safer World campaign. That's through Global Giving. So it's an online program. Basically, they give matching funds for anyone in the Safer World program. They only choose so many organizations to participate. And we were offered a spot to participate again this year. So we will be participating and raising funds with matching for one of our programs, which is the Help Educate Women and Girls in Afghanistan program. And so a way that you could help with that is when you see our social media blast about it, just share it. Comment, say, yeah, literally any interaction on social media helps other people see us. So helping in that way is great. If you want to donate through those, it's great also, because if you donate during that time, we get more than just your donation. They give us funds from the Safer World Fund, which is amazing. That campaign last year went all the way through the end of the year. They haven't yet said the end of it for this year, so who knows? It kind of depends, I think, on how much funds they have in the fund and how fast the matching goes. So earlier is better as far as interaction goes. And then, of course, we have our A Night in Afghanistan gala, which is happening on October 10th. That is in Seattle, but also virtually. So we will be live streaming that event. If you want to attend, you can purchase a virtual ticket. Virtual ticket's only $20, and that $20 supports completely programs. We have sponsors who are covering the cost of the event. So every dollar that gets donated during this event is going to programs, and it will be helping the girls in our programs going into 2025. So, sharing our post about that. If you know anyone in Seattle saying, hey, do you want to go to this event? It would be fun. This is a great organization, blah, blah, blah. That's helpful. Sharing it online for anyone who wants to sign up virtually, also really helpful. And then at the end of the year, we specifically do a call out where we, let people know kind of what's our vision for 2025, what are we looking to do, and ask them to please, think about giving at the end of the year, especially if they want to declare on their taxes. And so that is a time when we will do that. That's all online, doesn't require anything special, but just if you see it and you want to share it, that is helpful for us. And then we do have spring events that we are planning in potentially California and DC. We have several board members who live in California, and they are thinking about hosting an event. If you want to go to that event in person, if you want to volunteer in person, please let us know, because it will be very helpful to them to know that they have support in their area to help them with that, because I don't live there. And so I can't help them as much as I do for things we do here. And then the same goes with DC as well. If you're interested in helping in DC, that would be gratefully helpful for us, because I know that board members really want to make a difference, but it's easier if they know they have some support in the area already. And so the last thing I just want to kind of mention on this call is, if you're interested or thinking, well, maybe I might want to learn more about the event coming in October. Some things to know about it are that we will have speakers, Roya Sadat, who's a director and writer. She did the Sharp Edge of Peace. She also directed the opera 1,000 Splendid Suns, and the composer from the opera 1,000 Splendid Suns will be speaking. Fatima Hosseini will have an exhibition of photography, and she actually will attend the event as well, and speak, which I just confirmed with her today, which is great. And we will have live music. We're going to have 2 opera singers singing a part of the opera 1,000 Splendid Suns. We're going to have a big auction, which will include a photograph from Fatima Hosseini, as well as many other items locally and not so locally. Many of these things can be bid on virtually and collected virtually as well. Those things that can only be redeemed in Seattle will be marked on the auction as that, so that people aren't going, oh, I should bid on this thing, and then find out they can't actually use it. So that, people can participate from afar. There will be a live rhubarb player. There will be food for anyone who's in the event, in person, delicious Afghan food, and dessert as well. And a henna artist who's going to be giving henna to all the attendees. So we expect it to be a really fun event, and we are still selling tickets for it, of course. Our early bird pricing, which is discounted pricing, it ends tomorrow at the very end of the day. So, if you're like, I think I know someone who might want to go to that, shoot them an email or whatever, tell them about it, because they can get in at a discounted price through tomorrow. And then I forgot that I put that information. This is the information. Sorry about that. And the last part, of course, is after you've heard everything that I just said, do you have any questions?
I know that it was a lot of information, so If you don't have any questions right now and it comes to you later, please feel free to send us an email and we'll be
Yes.
happy to get in touch.
You can email me anytime. I will answer. Yes, Wendy?
Hi, I have a few questions. Do you rely on teachers within Afghanistan? Do you have teachers outside, for example, in the United States? So I'm just curious, who your teachers are. That's one. And then the other one is, I see that you have a focus on digital learning, and tech skills. And I'm just curious, do you incorporate other things like, math, science, and if not, is that an area that you're trying to grow, or is there a particular reason why you're focusing on, digital learning, and that sort of thing? Oh, and then one last question is, are you encountering difficulties with internet connection when you're trying to have, teach online? And if so, how are you navigating that issue? That was an issue for me.
Yeah. Great questions. Thank you so much, Wendy. So to the first question, all of our in-person courses, Underground Texturos, Menace Partners in Change, and Threads of Hope are taught by partners that are located and based in Afghanistan. So we partner with in-country partners. They all are taught in person, by Afghan teachers. None of those require any teacher from on the internet to like dial in and be present for those, which is helpful, of course, with one-on-one learning and such for those types of things. We do for the Underground Tech Heroes, we supply the internet to those locations where those girls go to school. We also supply the laptops for them to use during school as well. At this time, we don't have the funding to supply laptops they can take home with them to practice, but maybe in the future. But so for that type of course, we're not, really encountering internet connectivity issues. However, with our pilot program, the Secret Scholars Online, that is one of the things that we are testing and trying to see kind of how much of an issue it is. What we've learned from other organizations doing similar work in Afghanistan is that it is often a problem. However, it's only a problem for a percentage of students. And usually that it's a problem for those students who are using a cheaper internet provider and they can't afford a more expensive internet provider. So our proposal of the idea is that we would allow everyone to sign up, and then we can see their participation in the app-based program, which is taking them through all the learning levels. And also we have the teachers who will report to us if they can't or aren't participating in the online, class-based part of it where everyone's, coming to the class at a specific time. And if we know they aren't participating there, we'll of course then take the next step of reaching out to those students and trying to figure out, is it because it's not a good time for them? Or is it because there's some type of other barrier they're meeting, or is it because of their internet? And we have discussed and included in our budget that if it is because of their internet, we would then upgrade their internet to help them with that. So there is some room in the budget to cover internet as well as devices. If, someone's device is just not working for what we're trying to have them do, maybe it's an older smartphone or something like that, they might be having issues. So we have included that as something that we expect and will hopefully not have to deal with too much, but we do expect to deal with it as we roll this out, especially to more and more girls in Afghanistan in different areas. And to the other question, Mitra, do you want to answer about the curriculum choices?
Sure. Yeah. One of the reasons why we're focusing on digital learning is because one of the very last venues available for women and girls to seek employment and educational opportunities is online. All of the in-person educational platforms, of course, are closed for girls. And the areas where women can be employed and go to work in person is very limited in Afghanistan right now. So to be able to give them the skills to explore online job opportunities and also online schooling opportunities, we have decided to focus on digital literacy more. And the reason why we have Afghan teachers teaching these subjects too, girls. Of course, one, because the classes are in person, and second, because not all of the girls in our programs are fluent in English. They might know very basic English, and the topics that we discuss are, of course, very culturally sensitive, especially the topics in our two workshops. So some level of cultural awareness is required in these programs. So we rely on local teachers and mainly teachers who are from the same community. That basically mitigates the safety risks associated with it. If they're from the same community, the chances that anybody would report the program is very low.
Yes, thank you so much, Petra. And then there was one other part about in your questions about the other subjects. I will say that with the online learning app that we're currently testing out, it does have math, it has life skills, it has science. They're also adding a health component within the next year. So it does offer the ability to learn in those things. The students are not locked out of them. We're only encouraging three sections right now. However, once we've tested it, we can kind of see how it will work. The plan would be to roll it out to students and allow them to utilize it, whether they're in one of our other programs or not in any other programs, because we're able to have an unlimited number of licenses. So any student who's in one of our other programs will be offered the ability to enroll in that, allowing them to go through all of those sections as well. And that's just really because the time and effort, and then of course the training involved in teaching those types of subjects, if it's not the focus, is very high. But it doesn't mean that we wouldn't do it in the future, maybe at some point. But for now, we're really relying on just focusing on what we can do well, and then we have at least the app that can help us with the rest.
Yeah, and one of the programs that we would need volunteer teachers for, and they could even be outside of Afghanistan, is the online program that we're currently piloting.
Yes, what we have talked about is using online teachers to do like maybe twice weekly sessions where the students would be able to come on. They can ask any questions if they're having issues. Maybe they would talk about just talk, like, because something that they do miss in this online program is the community aspect, right? Because students in the in-person classes, they all get to meet each other and they have that community aspect. So to be able to do some of those like goal building workshop type things, like I know they did this thing that students really loved in one of the underground tech heroes things, which was asking them to write their dreams on like this tree. So maybe a virtual tree where they write their dreams instead, right? Because these students need that interaction. It would be really good for them. And we've talked about separating beginner English from more advanced English so that someone who doesn't speak any Dari or Pashto could do the advanced English, and someone who does have a bilingual capacity could do the beginner English, because obviously that would make it much easier for the students. Do you have any other questions?
I had like a follow-on question to what Wendy asked. So I know you guys explained a lot about using local teachers. Are there other local resources that can help with some of these programs? So in particular, the things that I was working on with the mental health and women's health. So I think it's great to have teachers, but it would be even more wonderful to have, like a midwife or somebody that's familiar with how things work locally, because I have a very obviously Western perspective of what menstrual products are available or what mental health opportunities or solutions are available, but I don't know what's available there. So it would be, I was curious about that, if that's something that's available.
That's a great question. We do use guest speakers for many of those more sensitive topics who have specific experiences in Afghanistan. Mitra, do you want to elaborate on that maybe?
Yeah, also we are looking for resources that are available locally. We are trying to compile a list of those so we could give them to the students. Let's say if we are discussing domestic violence, we would also want to give them resources that they could reach out to if they're in a domestic violence situation, or if we're talking about mental health, what resources are available for them. We are trying to put together a list. We don't have a solid list right now, but that's part of our future plan for our programs.
Yes, and something I would mention is that mental health is very taboo in Afghanistan. It is not often even spoken about, and we kind of, at least I assumed, that there were bigger and better programs out there than what Sahar does for mental health. But recently, UN Women reached out to us, asking us about our program on mental health. So that kind of makes me think maybe there aren't. But we can hopefully build that and improve upon it as time goes, with the help of our volunteers, because it would be great to feel that this was really robust. But for now, it is at least available and exists, because that is not an opportunity most students are having.
Right. All right, if there are no other questions at this time, we can end the call. But again, if you all have any questions, please feel free to reach out to Ali or to myself, and we'll be happy to answer your questions via an email, or even get on one-on-one call if that's more convenient for you all to answer your questions.
Yes, and then like I had mentioned before, I know many of you are interested in helping with programs. If you want to, just shoot me a quick email. It could literally be one word, programs, and tell me that is who you are. I will then be able to very easily compile a list of everyone who's interested in programs, including the people who were not here today on the call, because I will send them this recording and they will know to do this as well. And then we will be able to schedule a group call of just the programs interested people versus people who want to help with fundraising or help online. And something to be aware of, because Madiha, I know you were working with her before, is that we are actually recruiting a new programs manager. So Mitra is very busy in the recruiting phase of that. But soon we will do that. And so I think the idea would be that we would probably wait to get you all started on working on programs until we have that person onboarded and able to help you. Because we don't want to just throw you in there with nobody to guide you. And Mitra is very busy, and I have no idea what I'm doing in that aspect. So if that sounds reasonable to everyone, I think the next step is just confirm if that's what you want to work on. And if you also want to work on other things, let me know, because we could get started on other things faster. And then we thank you all for coming here today and for signing up and wanting to help, because we really need more hands on deck. We're a very small organization, but we're trying our best to help as many girls as we can. And so thank you for your contribution in that way.
Ali, is there time for another question?
Yeah, of course. Go ahead.
Okay, great. So just out of curiosity, some of us on this call, we're rooted in various communities like academic, health, mental health. So for those folks, do you have a vision for where you want to be in the next 5 years? And obviously it's a very long answer, but just very quickly, can you say what are the maybe 2 areas that you really need the most support with when it comes to, people who are experts in the field, maybe have a background in Afghan history, something like that? Are you trying to open up more, satellite organizations in other states? Like what is it that you really are tactically trying to focus on in terms of expansion? What are those areas that you need most? That's kind of my question.
Well, thank you for that. Mitra, do you want to answer the question?
Sure. One of the areas that we are really trying to focus on right now is first strengthening our digital literacy programs, of course, and our curriculums with mental health and women's empowerment. But another area that we are now thinking about expanding to is health sector, because that's one of the areas where the Taliban are okay with girls being in programs, and let's say if not a university, at least in midwifery programs, or maybe dental assistance programs. And women are also allowed to work in those areas because, of course, all women need female doctors in Afghanistan. So those are the 2 areas that the Taliban are okay with women being in. So we are now thinking about expanding in those areas, because that's more practical for women to actually work and get an income from. So those areas are something that in the next 5 years, hopefully, we'll have a very strong digital literacy program, but also something in health.
Yes. Yes, go ahead, Juliet.
Sorry, I just want to clarify the specificity of midwifery and dental assistant, because it seems to me they're extremely niche. And when you talked about the health sector being permissible, are we saying general nursing, physiotherapy, medicine, clinical practice, that not options? Are they
Well,
definitely not options?
they're allowed to work in those, but the actual college programs that would allow you to learn those things are gone. They don't exist for women and girls in Afghanistan. And so, yes, you can work in those. If we could have an accredited program that would teach them and allow them to then go on to work as a nurse or a doctor in Afghanistan, yes, it is allowed. If we could get them to travel elsewhere and learn and come back, yes, that's allowed. But midwifery programs are something that is still existing currently, and so we could expand those. We could work with those, as well as dental assistant programs. But because the actual things that require university, the universities aren't open to them. I don't know what they think is going to happen in 10 years when all those people have aged out of being doctors. But clearly the Taliban doesn't think ahead, is our opinion.
Right, and again, because the high schools are currently closed, there won't be many girls who would be able to get into those programs. And again, all the university programs for the fields, Julie, that you mentioned are currently gone. The only programs are the short-term midwifery programs and dental assistance program that are still happening in Afghanistan.
Yes. But that's not to say that we wouldn't be interested in trying to figure out if there's some way we could partner to do something more in the future. I think it would be great. But we're being realistic in like the now and here, kind of like what is realistic within that sector.
Right, and we're also thinking about what's feasible on the ground at the moment.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all for being here. I do have another call right now and I'll have to drop out, but again, we'll be happy to talk again. And if you have any questions, we'll be happy to answer. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you. Talk to you later.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Have a good
Thank
day.
you.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye, thank you.